Your hammer just knock on the thing.
Good evening, lady and gentlemen.
No,
Not yet.
we're not opening business yet.
Yes, we are. Lady and gentlemen, notice I use the singular, ma'am.
Michelle's ignoring you.
Wait a minute.
A couple of
That's not a
announcements.
lady over there? Very much of a lady.
Nick Macri will take on the position at the New Lebanon School Building Committee, where he will represent the commission as on an ex officio basis. Secondly, with the absence of one of the members, Nick Macri will sit as a member tonight. Items number 1 and 2 have been postponed. Item number 4 is withdrawn. And we have about 2 minutes left before we open. Will somebody make a motion on the approval of the June 16th minutes?
I'd like to move approval of the June 16th minutes.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Minutes approved.
And Mr. Chair, that, Mr. Macri seated for Mr. Levy?
Yes.
Yes.
He said, well, he didn't say who, he said.
Well, he said he was a missing member, so I,
Thank you for
What's down with this guy?
Mr. Chair, if I could make a quick
Details do
announcement, a quick announcement while we have just a minute about the Eastern Greenwich Neighborhood Plan. As you know, we're coming to the tail end of that. We have the second draft that is coming out within the next week or two, and we'll be having the next public meeting on that on Thursday, July 30th. And I'll post that on the website and send the email out to our people that have asked to be communicated with by email and get that message out to them, but I thought I'd make the announcement here tonight also.
July 30th.
July 30th, that's a Thursday. It's in Town Hall Meeting Room, starting at 7 p.m.
2 minutes to go.
1 minute. We use this clock here.
Oh. It's probably illegal since it's a fixed clock.
Okay. Thank you. Public hearing is now underway. The application is for a final site plan and special permit, 15 John Street.
45. Good evening. For the record, Rob Frangione, Frangione Engineering.
45 John Street, thank you.
Representing Applejack. When last we left, the only question was whether or not there was a kitchen in the barn or the guest house. We've provided architectural plans and pictures that show that there is not a kitchen. It is a bar. And that's the only outstanding issue. If you have any other questions.
I think it's not a kitchen, it's, the only other designation we have is wet bar. It's, the sink probably doesn't make it a wet bar, but I think the regulations definitely say it's not a kitchen.
Correct.
So since it's existing, I think that's what I think.
Margarita, do your thing.
You can invite,
Oh, that's not a,
It's not a kitchen. That's.
they can invite us over for drinks anytime they want, though. As long as it's not
I have a sink in
food.
my laundry room that doesn't make it a kitchen.
This
So.
commission cannot be bought, but dinner.
No, it's the size of the refrigerator that gave me pause.
Again,
And you-
There is a definition of wet bar in the regulations,
There is.
6-5, 52.2. An area equipped with running water, a sink of not more than 250 square inches, and a bar or serving counter, and may also include an undercounter or a countertop refrigerator. The wet bar shall not include facilities for cooking.
right, and there's no facilities for cooking. So.
Yeah,
The-
but
the
it's
sink meets
the
that roof.
under-counter refrigerator
no,
that,
it says or on the counter. It's kind of iffy on that.
I mean,
think
you can
it's-
put a refrigerator in any room that doesn't make it a kitchen. I mean, I've got a refrigerator and a sink in my laundry room that doesn't make it a kitchen.
yep.
Okay,
So.
any comments from the public?
I think we should,
Is there any public?
I think we can just put some fuzzy language.
I'm going to go trash. So-
Shall we close, people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, close, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Katie?
Next item is on Greenwich Country Day. Mr. Fox would like to be recused. What's the
No,
reason?
he's not sitting, so he can't be recused.
What's the,
I have a contractual relationship with.
okay, you're not a voting member, but it's always good to know why.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Bruce Cohen, and I represent Greenwich Country Day School. There are two applications before you tonight, Mr. Chairman, on this, and they're interdependent. The first one has to do with re-subdivision, actually a lot line revision, which I'll explain in a minute, and the second one is really dependent on the first one being granted, and that is a site plan and special permit approval to add an addition to the school's lower school.
Mr. Chairman, since these are both part of the regular meeting, and they are interwoven, I would suggest we hear the two at the same time, unless there's an objection.
I
Don't
don't.
really.
I don't think we
They've
can.
been issued, they're on the agenda as separate items, so I
Yeah, but
don't.
we
do
can-
them
I'm not saying
separately.
we vote on it, we can vote on it separately, I'm saying hear it, because otherwise Mr. Cohen will have to hear him twice.
Yeah, that's.
No, you won't. I'll do it so you'll
I
be,
think
you'll
he's
be
going to,
comfortable and you'll leave
Mr. Cohen, are
quickly.
you going to build the school separately for each?
Yes,
Okay.
whatever.
Exactly.
Oh,
Greenwich Country Day School, as you know, is a co-ed private school in Greenwich. It's shown on this GIS map of the towns. It has two parcels, the main campus, which I'll show you more of in a minute, which has about 33 acres. And it lies between Fairfield Road and Old Church Road. And then across from the main campus on Fairfield Road is the so-called Schwartz campus, which consists of about 41 acres, on which the schools, some of the schools' playing fields and some staff housing is located. Tonight, we are dealing with the main campus, and specifically the lower school, which is shown on the left. This map is twisted around a little bit. North is to my right. Old Church Road is on top. The application for the re-subdivision is being made really, it's cast, as you know, in the form of a re-subdivision application, but it seeks a confirmation from this commission that, in fact, the revision of the lot line between two adjacent parcels, which I'll show you, is neither a subdivision nor a re-subdivision. And that is based upon the deed history, which we've provided, and the fact that the definition of subdivision and re-subdivision are not met. The parcel that we want to convey is a piece of property to the immediate south of the main campus, consisting of about 12,600 square feet of property, and the reason that we're doing it is simply to support the additional floor area and green area that's required for the addition that I'll talk about in the following application. I noted in the staff
Mr. Cohen, you said convey. From whom to whom?
from an LLC known as GCDS to the Greenwich Country Day School. Obviously, that LLC is an entity affiliated with the school. I noticed one of the staff comments that I think you may have discussed at your Monday briefing had to do with, I guess, a timing issue of whether or not by agreeing to this, you weren't in effect providing excess floor area ratio for us that will be in effect consumed by the existing buildings. And the answer is that and I heard also that you were seeking the opinion of Mr. Wetmore about that. And although we can all benefit from Mr. Wetmore's counsel, I don't think it's a problem. The reason that it's not a problem is that your action, whenever it's taken, and it won't be tonight, and I'll tell you why, is is advisory only in the sense that it's statutorily in your hands to determine whether or not a division of property or a revision of a lot line constitutes a subdivision or a re-subdivision. That confirmation does not create the consolidation of the parcels. There are two steps that are necessary for that to take place. One, there's got to be a conveyance of the parcel into the main parcel, and two, a consolidation map has to be filed. So until both of those things take place, all that you've done is confirm my opinion, which is that we don't have a subdivision or a re-subdivision to deal with. Now, when I present the second application, which is the site plan special permit, I will tell you that we would make the granting of that application, if you see fit to grant it, subject to and conditioned upon the filing of that lot consolidation map. So in effect, at the same moment, the FAR and green area will have been improved by the addition of the land, and your approval will become operative. And we wouldn't do that until our final approval is issued and the appeal period passes.
Actually, Mr. Cohen, I had a slightly different question, which is that my reading of 6-9.
Marguerite, is your microphone on?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
but I
thank you.
will speak more loudly. My reading of 6-9 is that any additional land acquired should be used to remedy the nonconformity. And so where I'm struggling, okay, I don't need to finish, right? You know where I'm going.
We're not going to acquire any additional land until the approval has finalized. And in fact, this is not the first time that this commission has been requested to do something like this, nor has done it. In fact, you did the very same thing
That's what, okay, keep going, yeah, that's what I wanted to hear.
when
In 2011, did we do that?
I think you
No.
did. When, hold on, this shows a little better. This parcel, which is a separate lot, also acquired by Greenwich Country Day School, was approved on the same basis as we're requesting right now.
But I thought with that parcel, looking at the material, we remedied the nonconformity.
You did not. You simply allowed a greater FAR to exist on the campus by permitting the so-called fish building
Right, the fish house.
to
Fish building,
remain.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think it's a problem, but I don't think you can act tonight on this application because we need to get a special exception to which has been applied for, and we're going to be heard by the ZBA on the 8th of July. So I don't think you could take any action anyway.
Just one quick question on the matter of whether it is a re-subdivision or not. Is this going to be on town sewer, or does it have a septic system? Would Lot 50 have a septic system, or would it be on town sewer?
Nothing is going to change from what exists right now. It's all sewer and town water. I'm sorry, you're talking about the remaining parcel?
Yes, what's going to be remaining of the number 50 lot, if the design of that lot included this parcel you're giving away for the septic system, then it would be a problem.
Sewer map?
It truly would.
I don't know the answer to that question, but
Okay, well, you can, perhaps you can seek that.
I will. But since,
Well, the question is, does it have a septic system on it?
No,
well,
it's
it
a
wouldn't
vacant
because it
lot.
has no
It-
house.
it's
It's
vacant
vacant,
lot,
and
right.
we intend that it's going to remain vacant.
Right, so it is, I believe it is within the sewer boundary, but then the question becomes,
Sewer, I don't,
Right.
just a question. So if you can, since you are going to have some time, if you could just tell us.
We'll confirm that, but first of all, the school has no intention of developing that property. It's vacant land.
Well, the
And
only thing
secondly,
is-
you
yeah.
never approve the buildability of a divided lot, even when you approve the division necessarily.
Well, we do have, that's one of the tests of a re-subdivision, and is whether it materially affect the ability of getting a a septic system on the site. Let's just say that was the only 12,000 square feet on the site that you
It's
could get
the
a septic
sixth-
system.
It's the sixth item on in
We'll
261.
take a look at that.
It substantially alters the shape of any lot so as to eliminate the septic and/or septic system reserve area without substituting another approved
Well,
by the
there is
health
no
department.
septic nor reserve area on it right now, nor has
Right, but if
ever
you-
been identified.
But if you have a buildable lot right now, and then through this act of conveyance of land, you now remove the area that could be used for septic, then theoretically, it could no longer,
From a zoning point of view, it's buildable in the sense that it's the right amount of acreage and a proper circle can be drawn in it. Whether or not we can, cure any other problems in terms of topography, I don't know, but I'll get an answer to your question, Mr. McKee.
Okay, what else, guys?
I just wanted to note one piece of information regarding 6-9, since the question got brought up. It does say in the beginning that no land or building should be used and no building or part thereof should be erected or relocated, except that lots appearing of record in the Greenwich land records and made non-conforming in respect to area, lot shape, or frontage. So it's talking about those three things as
Yeah.
it relates to, provided the owner of any such lot did not own sufficient adjoining land at the
But-
time such lot became non-conforming.
Keep going, because where I got stuck is further down. It's in, hold on. It is at the very bottom of that page, and it says, yes, it is, but I'll talk louder again.
It says, provided the owner of
The article, okay, has not subsequently acquired such adjoining land other than by descent or demise as a, so if you have subsequently acquired sufficient land, you have to use it towards the nonconformity. That's how I read that. That's that phrase where it says, and has not subsequently acquired such adjoining land.
But do you think that that part refers back to the area, lot shape, or frontage, or perhaps that's the question?
That's the question.
Right.
The way I read it, it should go, I think the intent is that when you get additional land, you fix the nonconformity. That would be the logic of somebody writing the regulation, and that's where I'm stuck. And that's what I wanted to hear, get some more thoughts on how to interpret this regulation for us. And I mean, you're comfortable that we've done it before, but that doesn't necessarily mean we did the right thing the last time.
I always assume you do the right thing.
Yeah, I don't.
Try.
We try, but we're human. Sometimes more human than others.
Let me put it this way, Ms. Albin. First of all, the school would not acquire any more land if we weren't able to use it for the purpose that the school wants. Secondly, my history with this,
Yeah, okay.
that gives me a big shrug. My history with this agency representing schools, and as you know, I've represented a number of schools before
Is
you.
that a requirement, by the way, in Greenwich?
What's that?
For somebody to operate a private school, that you have to be
Right.
counseled?
I believe it is. It's part of the charter. But years ago, it was my recollection, whenever a school came before this agency, sort of pushing the limits of where they were, the school was always encouraged to acquire more land. And that was the way to do a couple of things. First of all, to make sure there was sufficient space
Yes.
for all the purposes. And secondly, to continue to encourage the educational institutions of
Sure.
the town.
But you're
And so-
sidestepping my question, which is, sure, you're encouraged to get more land to cover your uses, but the issue is, if you acquire the land when you're non-conforming, are you first to apply it to the nonconformity, to reducing the nonconformity, and then to adding? That would seem to be the intent of the people
That goes
who
back
wrote
to
it.
the original question. It's one of timing. We would not acquire that land if your final site plan approval was not granted and became final. And we would agree that any such granting would be subject to acquiring the additional land, and that it be done simultaneously. And I
But see,
do believe
yeah.
that there is precedent for that. But again, you can,
There may
take
be
counsel
precedent.
from Mr. Wetmore.
The question is, have we been right? So that's,
If you'd like clarification on it,
Yes.
why don't we wait until they come back?
well, we're going to leave it
a
open
few
anyway.
weeks from
We've
now?
got stuff.
That's correct. We're going to leave it open. So why don't
Yes.
you study it
Well, that's what
and get back
we
to
were
us
trying
on
to
it?
Thank you,
Okay, what
Mr.
else?
Chairman. The next item is the special permit and site plan approval. Again, I'm representing Greenwich Country Day School, and I think that we can show the area of the addition, certainly in the architectural plans that you have, but basically it involves adding a strip of building immediately in back of the existing lower school for the purpose of enlarging existing classrooms and adding a deck for outdoor activities like classes from those classroom areas. This is a copy of the aerial survey to show exactly the area that we're talking about. This is the lower school, and the area that the addition is being proposed is immediately on the eastern side of the existing building. This has been through the normal departmental review. It's obtained a wetlands permit. DPW has reviewed and approved the stormwater management plan. The comments from the zoning enforcement officer related to the special exception that we must get to add that land, and also we're going to bring the addition of the building to the attention of the zoning board. The only other comments that I saw were from Alexandra Mock, and I can deal with a couple of them. One, she notes that some trees are going to be taken down, which you can see, I think, in that overhead shot, and we will have, the school will, of course, have a planting plan that will be submitted. This is on a fairly steep slope, though, so that the plants are going to have to be appropriate for the location that they're...
You'll be going to ARC also, won't you?
Yes, we are. We're
very
scheduled for
You will have a,
15th
you'll have
of
a
July.
planting plan.
We will for that.
Okay.
Mr. Cohen, on the addition, I know you're not adding any classrooms and you're just expanding the size of these lower school rooms. Will the school have incremental students in those enlarged rooms?
No. There will not be incremental students. It'll serve the same population that exists now.
Is there a cap placed on this?
There is not,
school
no.
From the zoning board?
Never has been.
And what is the student population at the moment?
I'm told it's around 900, something like that.
Can you give us?
Spread out over the two campuses.
Could you give us, when you come back, could you give us sort of the breakdown of the classes and the number, the enrollment?
By class?
Yeah, and I think to see, I think that's, to your point, if the school's going to continue to expand without fixing its nonconformities, I think I'd like to look at how big it's gotten over time somehow and where it's going with student body. So the question is, are you now at the max of student body that the school intends to go to?
I spoke to the headmaster this afternoon, and he told me that the population, the enrollment is actually dropping a little, and it's probably going to remain static for quite a while. But I don't...
Do you know what kind of time frame he was talking about?
No, I don't. But we'll get you the information.
You know what I'm thinking of, the backup in that neighborhood, and I know they try really hard to manage it, and they've got people, but there's still a substantial traffic tie-up, and there is. So
I think
when
it's
they have
gotten
events- Yes, it's gotten
tremendously better.
And the work that was done and the way it works with the driveways and the way it's being managed, no question about that, but it's still a source of concern within that neighborhood.
Well, I don't, I mean,
think
I
you
could be wrong, but I don't see any
No.
neighbors that I
Got
can
it.
recognize. And I think that's a good thing, and I think it tells you two things. First of all, that there's been a long-standing effort on the part of the school administration to have a good relationship with the neighbors. And secondly, they don't feel that the presence of the school at that location represents a burden to the residential neighborhood. In fact, as you know, this really represents a good area of open space on what I think, notwithstanding Mrs. Mock's statement, is a very beautiful campus in the center of Greenwich. I think it's a remarkable institution. In any event, and I don't say that because there's a representative of the school directly behind me.
Any other comments by the commission? Anybody else? Any comments from the public?
Mr. Maitland?
No, I was just sort of musing over the way that you cut the light wells into the building to get the
didn't
square
do it.
footage down.
I had
sorry,
nothing to
Dick,
do with the light levels. Do you like them? Or
No,
you
I
like
don't. I
them?
don't think they'll function at all, but
Oh,
whatever.
really?
I thought it was rather,
The effort was to bring light into those classrooms.
I know.
Okay.
Probably a more, rather than a slot, maybe a
So we're gonna leave
nice
this open?
square or something would have
Yeah.
done that.
Wait a minute, you have to ask.
I understand.
Comment from the audience.
Did somebody have a comment?
No, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I leave it open?
Okay, yes.
To announce that, I think.
Okay. Item number 7, Country Realty, 180, final site plan and special permit, 180 West Putnam Avenue.
Hold on, we have to, Mr. Hegney, we have to wait for Mr. Fox to come back in.
He'll be back.
There he is. Well, I know what
Maybe
he.
he's going to the country.
Think about
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of New Country Motor Car Group. This is a building that you've actually seen on a number of occasions. It was at one point a Porsche Service and Sales, and that goes back to when I had one, so that's back in the 80s. Then it became Volkswagen Service. And then for a short period of time, unfortunately, right around 2008, it was Lamborghini store.
Pardon me, whose store?
Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And since then, it has been used as a Volkswagen service and is currently being used for a Porsche service. And what we're proposing to do is to take the existing building and add 6 feet to it so that we can use the upper level of the building for a service area as well. Currently, there are 8 service bays in the lower level. We're proposing to eliminate the showroom and offices on the upper level and turn those into 6 service bays. So this would be a service-only building. There would be no customer contact with it at all. All of the drop-off of vehicles, to the extent there are any, would be at the building at 241, the next application, the Porsche sales building. But I should add also that about 60% of the vehicles that come in for service are picked up by New Country at people's homes and brought to the service building. So they wouldn't even be going to the building at 241. They average somewhere around 12 to 14 service vehicles a day. And the reason that they have more lifts than they have sometimes service vehicles is sometimes a vehicle may be waiting for parts or may have an extensive repair that takes more time and therefore occupies a lift for more than just a day. You're looking at probably 5 hours for each repair per vehicle.
Did you review the comments that we received from Beta?
Yes.
And
Uh,
he had several, by the way, you haven't been to ARC yet, have you?
We have been to ARC.
Oh.
And
Just to go back.
ARC had a question, and maybe I should put the prettier plans up on the board. They had a question on the exterior material. This is called black trapezium. Other places in the country, it may be just called corrugated metal, but we have these Alucobond panels on the upper portion, carrying the windows over, which is what ARC asked us to do in here as well, making these panels larger, and they asked us to put another tree in front of the building. So we have filed this with ARC for their July 15th agenda,
Okay,
but
so
they have seen this, and it was really the not so much the material as the color. And so what we've gotten for them is a series of photographs of other facilities with it that Porsche has around the country. We did not make up this design for this particular building. Porsche has a design for all of their facilities, both service and sales. And we're following the guidelines that they have in their prospectus.
So there,
I'm sorry.
so there will be no signage?
Correct. There's no signage on this building. There will be no customer contact with the building at all.
I'm just commenting on what I saw. And can you confirm the hours of the facility?
Chris Mackey from New Country is here. Chris, why don't you come up and you can respond to that?
The hours are 7:30 a.m. till 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and Saturdays 8 till noon.
For this service facility?
Correct.
Apropos of the work across the street at Audi, will the lights be turned off at a certain time on this facility?
Yes, they'll be all on electronic management
When will
controls
they be turned off?
at this
Yeah.
when we close.
So, too fast. 6 o'clock, was it a 6 p.m. close?
Yeah, but I mean, there could be employees in the building
I
till maybe
understand.
7, but
I think
My-
for Audi, we had said 7 p.m.
Right.
That was the
So that's-
the limit.
That's all. What I was concerned about more was, have you been to ARC for the lighting and the landscaping?
Yes.
But now, on the landscaping, I mean, part of your landscaping plan shows a lot of plants being planted on state property. Is that a problem?
This is the landscape
Where it
plan
goes
that
over Horseneck.
we brought to them.
Yeah.
This is the property line, and actually, it's just these bushes,
No,
which are a
those are the ones-
continuation of the ones along in front of 200 and 181. It's the Mugo pines.
I
that
understand
we're
all of
proposing.
that, but it's on state property. So is there that's my question was, is there a problem with that?
No, you deal with DOT on that, and they
Okay.
provide you with approval.
Have they done that already? Provided the approval?
Since the only thing we're proposing is just those shrubs, no, we haven't taken that to them.
Okay.
Pre-
Go ahead.
When does that happen, though? When would you?
We would do that between final approval and submitting for final review for building permit purposes. And that was a condition on the other projects for Audi as well.
Can you show us the picture again? I'm sorry. It's on. This is LA.
Is what?
LA.
Yeah, so there's going to be
it's-
signs on the other building, I can tell
No,
you that.
I
but
just
not
don't like
on
the
this one.
monolithic. I don't like that. I mean, I know that's up to ARC, but
Oh, they're advisory to you.
What?
The ARC is advisory to
I
you.
think Mr. Hegney actually said something that's actually, was very interesting to me. If this is a service-only building, which has no contact with the clients,
Correct.
did you make it?
to me, it would seem odd, then why would I go through all of this time and trouble to fix this building up in such a way if it's just a repair facility for the company?
My understanding is, be it a service facility, be it a warehouse, this is how Porsche is cladding their buildings.
So if I look at, for example, the one in LA, that just
I have
hasn't been
not visited
clad
that one
recently.
recently.
Well, you know, all we got is the internet.
I have photographs of a number of other ones, though, that I could show
Okay,
you.
That'd be good.
And that might help clarify how the facade is being treated.
Mr. Hegney, the questionable,
It's black?
that,
He,
Uh,
okay.
This is our architect, John Penny.
John Penny, any new facility that gets branded will have the gray ACM in the front and then the black trapezium towards the back. That's a Porsche national standard.
But why didn't you wrap the tan or whatever the front color is around the end
Yeah.
over that glass?
That's kind of what we're asking you.
So typically, because this is a unique situation because there's a split facility. You have a sales building, and then you have a service building. The service part of the structure wants to be all black trapezium, but this was sort of.
It wants that?
Porsche would like it to be all black
Okay.
trapezium.
Just
This
checking.
was a compromise with the gray panels. This was a compromise with the gray panels because it fronts West Putnam to add a little bit of interest, and we have these windows going halfway across, so the whole building wouldn't be black trapezium, which would be pretty ominous.
Okay.
Those
Yeah.
windows open up into a service bay,
But they're tinted.
Nick, what do you think?
tinted.
Yeah.
Well, right now, they look like you can see through them, but
Yeah,
or am I seeing I'm not seeing a reflection, am I?
It's a reflection for the outside.
That's, yeah.
It would be a gray spandrel panel, so it would be an opaque window.
Mr. Hegney, did you see the beta report?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman.
Comments, please?
I didn't see really anything in here that I thought was an issue. They talk about the existing driveway that's 30 feet wide. They were looking for a radius on the roadway. We can certainly provide that, but they get deliveries from SU-30 vehicles now, and the 30-foot wide driveway apron shouldn't be an issue for that at all. And then they asked about the drive aisles. Again, this will not be utilized by customers at all. It's just the valets that New Country employs who will be driving the vehicles.
The depth in that aisle that goes down by the building, down to the back, slopes down, yeah, where you've got the tandem spaces, those are only 15 feet deep. Now, I think for Porsches, so far, that probably is going to be okay. But I always wonder about whether we get into these situations, whether that becomes then, I don't know if we can condition that in any way, Katie, so that if Porsche goes out of business and GMC wants to come in and park trucks there, they're not going to be able to tandem park the
Yeah,
trucks in this
well-
way. So maybe this could just be limited to, I don't know, is there any way to do that?
I think
Not really, I mean, it's.
it's the use. However, this is strictly as a service building. If it went to something other than just a service building,
Well, it's a
Then
service
we would
building
have
for
to return
GMC
to you.
trucks or something,
Well,
so it's-
the spaces are tandem because they're for,
No, I understand, I don't mind the tandem parking, I'm just saying both of those are only 15 feet deep, though.
right.
So that normally would be 18.
So, see, their longest car is shorter than if another dealership took it over,
That's
is
all.
his point. So their longest car would be the Panamera.
And there's even
the
Audis that you
Yen.
couldn't park in there.
So that's the thing, so we would just say something to that effect. I'm still, can I?
there was one other thing I did want to point out about that. The service bays on the lower level are built for small cars. They are not built for trucks.
Okay.
They fit very tightly into the space. Let me just show you.
No, believe me, I know that. But what I'm trying to say is that I just want to make sure that this, I don't know, just can't be somehow transferred into something else, because it is a tight number. So I don't know if we can condition this just on a car which does not exceed 15 feet in length or so, I don't know.
Well, the other
Because
point.
that's only 115 times 12 is 180 inches, right? Is that it?
I just wanted to point out on the lower level, we have 8 service stalls, but as you can see, they're all, it's very tight in that space.
I've
I
been there.
mean, that, it could be a whereas clause. The reason there are 8
Yeah.
is due to the
Yes.
fact that the cars are a certain size, so
We just
that
say something to that effect.
there's not a non-conforming situation being created as it relates to larger vehicles and potential traffic and vehicular circulation issues.
Because the other thing, Beta already brought up the fact that that travel aisle along there is not going to be the 23 feet, which they, and I don't have a problem with that. I think a 20-foot aisle with this kind of maneuvering and so forth. I was just concerned about the depth. But further on the traffic, I didn't realize this until I was looking at the drawings today, but if you go back to your first drawing, not that
I don't
one.
know how we left the siding, I wasn't.
This one. There is a sign, a stop sign, as you come out of as you drive out onto East Putnam Avenue. And below it on the thing is a no left turn. And I didn't realize that until as I said, I was looking at it today. So everybody is turning right, which seems to cause a conflict with cars being shuttled to the left over 241. Because that's where people will pick their car up after it's repaired, is that correct?
Correct.
So
Except for the ones that are
Driven
delivered.
home.
And so out of those 14, 9 would be
Driven
picked up
home.
I'm just
at
saying-
people's homes and
Right,
redelivered.
but.
So then I started thinking that perhaps what you were planning on doing is using the bridge and going into Audi's property
Which
and
is
going
what
back
Nick wants
onto
to do.
the.
I was going to mention that, because there was a question that came up at the briefing as to whether we were going to use the bridge or not.
Yes.
I spoke with Mr. Mackey, and the bridge will be used, and the cars serviced here will use the car wash facility at Audi that is really just on the other side of the bridge. That's,
Is there any need, I'm more concerned, I think, about the fact that you're posting a sign that doesn't allow you to drive to the west on West Putnam Avenue. Does there need to be any kind of an easement permitting this inner use of the thing? Because to circulate, you are counting on being able to go that way.
both dealers are controlled by New Country, and they can
The
allow
dealerships can
that.
be sold and so forth. I'm just
Well,
curious, though.
If it is, then we would have to establish that as an easement.
You're right, it's a kind of an.
But the bridge will continue to be used.
So it
I know
will
that
be
was one
used.
of the
So
questions.
that was the reason you took the parking
Speaking-
space away.
Speaking of easements, isn't there an easement that runs along the side of the building that's in favor of the Housing Authority property?
No, actually,
What happened to that easement?
after 10 years of back and forth with the Housing Authority, New Country ended up purchasing this piece. The commission back in the mid-90s approved a lot line revision that moved the line from here to here. We had a contract with the Housing Authority. They couldn't get their bondholders to issue a release of this portion of the property. And our point to the bondholders was, this can't be used by the Housing Authority for anything because this building has had an easement the entire length, or width rather, of this and length, so that nothing could ever be built or used for anything other than access for this building at 180. So, the building was the obvious purchaser and owner of it, and now that easement is gone because the title has merged.
So if the bridge, if either property gets sold, would you agree to come back to the commission then, since if Audi is sold off to somebody else, then that, as Mr. Maitland was pointing out, that could impact the circulation. And as such, would you agree to come back to the commission at that time?
I'm being advised, yes.
Sure, because they're not going to care anymore.
Well, no, they are two different manufacturers.
But if they sell, then they're going to have to make the deal work. So
Yeah.
they should be okay with coming back.
I've just one
Yeah,
last
go ahead.
question.
I still want to get back to the
I
sign.
know you do. I'm sorry, go start here. The lighting exceeds the .5 at the property line. Is there a way to correct that, or?
Yes. It's at 2
about 4
points.
points.
One is right here, and then there are 4 points right here. And there's a light fixture there that we will move over so that that will comply.
Okay, coming back to
And
the
and it's
siding.
just in those 2 places right here.
Is that
right
the
here.
existing light that you're referring to, or you're putting up a new light?
I assume they're new lights.
No, those are new lights. They'll all be new LED lights.
Okay, I was just checking. I was out there today, and the light that's hanging there, it literally is like facing only directly towards the building. I couldn't imagine how it could put off any light, but I just thought I'd check.
No, these will be all new LED fixtures.
Okay, wait. If you're not going to do lighting, I get to go back to siding.
I'm doing something about phasing because I
No,
know.
let me go back to siding, because I don't want to get sidetracked on this. I looked at Los Angeles, and I looked at Palm Beach, at West Palm, where they have facilities. I think those dealerships in volume may be comparable to ours. And my question is, those are silvery. And then I drove down West Putt a couple of times this morning, and what strikes me is the Benz building and the work that Miller has done, those are light-colored, modern buildings, and suddenly we're beginning to put in more of this black monolithic. The fact that that siding doesn't wrap the way it does in the other buildings bothers me, but really what I'm asking for is something that blends in better with where everybody else is going. I know you want your brand to stand out and all that, but I don't like that. I don't want this to sort of be something that draws your eye into the darkness. I feel like West Putt looks a lot better now than it did 10 years ago. You don't think so? Okay.
Well,
So I
that
know
is
this
why
is
we
up to
carry
ARC.
this band farther over.
Here's what, I think what we're going to do, at least what I'm going to do, is send on to ARC that I have the same concerns about the siding, and that I hope that they address the way the facade of the building looks.
Okay.
Okay? Because I have an issue with it.
Check
And
And you would like-
we weren't listening to them, and we
I
did
just-
make changes.
It's too black
It's
for you?
too
You'd like
black.
it to wrap around, or just?
Something that makes it less black. If they'd like to make it greener, if they want to do more, if they can do something to break it up. It's just, to me, it looks, I just don't like the way it's going to look on West Putt.
It
Ms. Alban,
is-
if I may suggest, actually, looking at the building, the black that's on the other facility, in that one
The
band.
same,
it's
same
the
material.
Okay.
So when you
One thing
look,
that struck me on this building is that it got really tall, and there's really nothing behind this height increase other than the rest of the building.
Yeah, they're making it monolithic.
Maybe a solution is not to do this incredibly increased parapet around the building and keep it a little bit lower, thus reducing some of this dark color.
our parapet is not all that high. The parapet that's there now is higher above the roof than what we're doing. So we're actually, in terms of the
Bringing it down.
relationship between the height of the parapet and the roof height, we're bringing that down from what it currently
Maybe
is.
we could bring it down a little bit more and reduce some of the darkness.
I'm okay with leaving this. to
Guys, I think
ARC.
we're in areas now where we're
Belongs with ARC.
putting out
I'm okay
personal-
with leaving this to
I think
ARC, but
I
I'm
thi-
just I'm considering community character. I'm considering this as the entry into Greenwich, and I'm just considering how it looks for the town, and that's what
I think so, but I think.
I know you disagree.
I know you'll love the next
I
building.
don't necessarily disagree, I just don't think if you want to take it back to ARC.
No, they
it has
have to.
Well, we have to go
ARC
back,
had
but
the
if you
same
could make that a
issues.
condition.
Your opinion
and-
will be noted. Anybody else want to talk about the color?
I just want to make
Okay.
a quick note that the
I'd like to get people, somebody
hold on
from
a
the
second.
public here. Does anybody
Mr.
from the
Heller?
public want
No.
to say anything?
Mr. Heller, Bob Seal.
Just
would like
really
to-
quick, the parapet wall on this building is only about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. This one's a
Right.
really low one.
It's only 1.5 feet.
Do you,
The other one
It's
is.
the other one, that's a larger parapet.
It's the other building.
you want to say something? Come on up, please, Mr. Berg.
That's a given, isn't it?
Thank you.
Good evening. Peter Berg, RTM member. So This is not specific to the Porsche application, but back in February, New Country was before you for its Audi dealership. And I made some comments, and then a representative from New Country stated that New Country supports Greenwich-based charities, specifically Kids in Crisis and an autism awareness organization whose name he could not recall. His statement was in response to my comment that according to our plan of conservation and development, Greenwich wishes to remain primarily a residential town and does not aspire to become a regional shopping destination. We welcome shoppers from other towns, but we don't like traffic congestion, so we expect our local businesses to be scaled for the needs of Greenwich residents. We expect Greenwich businesses to be sensitive to the needs of our residents and to support local charities. I noted that New Country's website lists dozens of charities on its website, many based in upstate New York, but none in Greenwich. Following that meeting, I went to Kids in Crisis and was told that New Country is not an active supporter. New Country's most recent donation was a $300 ad in a program book in 2003. I also contacted Friends of Autistic People, a Greenwich-based charity that works with autistic people. They also said that they had never received a donation from New Country. I then contacted Abilis, another Greenwich-based charity that meets the needs of people with developmental disabilities. According to their director of development, New Country is not an active supporter. Their most recent donation was a $1,500 ad in 2008.
Excuse me, Mr. Berg, this relates to the zoning regulations.
Well, thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Again, I'm pointing out that my interpretation of our plan of conservation and development is that Greenwich wishes to be and remain a residential community and not a regional business center. Now, many of the ads that New Country runs in the New York newspapers talk about how it's one of the largest auto dealerships in the metropolitan area, encourages people to come to Greenwich, get off at exit 3, and so they drive to Greenwich, they then test drive vehicles on our local streets. It's not clear that that adds much to our community. So I just wanted to add that to the record, and with that, thank you very much.
Would anybody like to respond? Go ahead.
Mr. Berg.
You address the.
Please.
You have to talk to us. Talk to us.
Say your name again, please.
Chris Mackey, I'm the Vice President of New Country Motor Car Group, and I'd like Mr. Berg to step over to the podium.
No, you can't do that.
You're supposed to talk to us.
This weekend, maybe you could show this to Mr. Berg. This is the Audi that led the Kids in Crisis parade this weekend after somewhere between a $3,000 and $5,000 donation. So here it is. Tell me what you see in the picture.
Please, you can't do that,
Sir.
Mr. Mackey. Come on, please.
You can state what you have done if you'd like.
If you want to state, do you want to state anything else about what
He's in
charities?
the audience, he will hear what you're saying.
Talk to us, please.
I believe Mr. Berg, go ahead. I'll just let you take it.
The only reason that we're showing this to you is to show that New Country is supporting a worthy charity and has participated in the community and did so within the last week. And need to be aware.
Okay. Would anybody else like to say
Child
anything?
Guidance Center of-
Anybody else?
Yeah,
I
Child
would-
Guidance Center of Southern
We're way
Connecticut.
off.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I just would like to make this point, since it's come up a few times, that in the plan of conservation and development, the term regional is mentioned a few times. For example, it states that Greenwich's past vision for the downtown was to provide localized goods and services and prevent this area from becoming a regional center, but now it recognizes it as a regional employment and shopping center. But only as it relates to Chapter 4, where it talks about protecting the small villages from regional stores. There's not an overriding statement in the Plan of Conservation Development, because it's been stated a
I'd
few
rather-
times, and
Okay, but I'd rather,
stick to the zoning regulations.
thank you for your comment.
Okay,
Does anybody else from the public want to say anything? Okay.
I do.
Anybody other comments from the
Yes.
commission?
I do. I'm sorry. You go first, because I cut you off the last time.
Can you explain the Audi service project? What's the status of that, and when would this project start? And explain logistics between the two projects.
The Audi service building will be after we have constructed the new Audi sales building. The first step with Audi sales is that the sales portion will move over to where Volkswagen sales used to be. That building will be rebuilt, parking deck added, and then once that's completed, the sales will move back to 181 across the street, and the building at 200 will be renovated, and the drop-off area will be added. During that time, however, we will continue to have service in what is called the car wash building, and that is just to the west of this bridge. And the aisle, which comes from behind the Audi service building and then comes up past that car wash building up to West Putnam, that will remain open during construction. So what we're really doing is having the construction activity concentrated on the westerly portion of 200, and then maintain the traffic circulation for the eastern side of 200.
When is 180 starting, and how does 180 relate to 200?
I didn't bring those timelines with me. I believe we're looking at starting construction on 181 toward the spring of next year. We'd probably be doing this building at basically the same time that we're doing the sales building for Audi. This building would be done first, and then we would go do the renovations, because we need the same number of service bays, whether they're here or over at 241. So we need to create these first, and that would be done at the same time that the Audi sales building is being done.
Mr. Fox, yeah, what are you driving at, so I'll understand?
And just, there's no
I wasn't sure.
chance that Audi's going to use any of these service bays during their construction?
No. No, we're going to be maintaining the service bays at the lower level of the Audi service building and in the car wash building.
And where will the various construction vehicles and workers and whatnot, where will they park? Is there an off-site location that you'll bus them in or something? or-
Actually, for this site,
Site.
I don't think we're going to need anything other than the site itself. Because really what we're talking about is some excavation to create the new parking, retaining wall, and then we're building up over the existing. So we're taking the roof off the upper level and lifting that roof up by building on the existing walls of this building, up the additional 6 feet.
But you said this building was happening at the same time as the one across the street, the Audi sales?
At one, yeah, the 181. We have a
Well-
separate program for doing the construction for Audi. But I
That
think
doesn't
this, I
involve
think this
anybody
doesn't involve
parking over
using
here?
this site at all, no.
Okay.
I have one more thing, and I'll repeat it for the next one. We have a letter, an email that we got from one of the neighbors, And I think it summarizes everything the neighbors have ever said when they've come in. I'll reference it in the next application, but it's, ensure adequacy of customer parking, no loading and unloading of the cars on Edgewood Drive, the lighting, soundproofing, rooftop screening, all that stuff we're gonna include, I'd like to include all this in anything in any decision we make that we would discuss. You've heard all these things before. It's to make it as neighbor-friendly as possible. Both Porsche and Audi. Do you
No,
have this?
I
Here, you
hadn't
can have
seen that
mine.
in the
You have it, right, Richard?
I do.
Okay, so if you can keep that one, because everybody else has one. It's nothing surprising. It's all the stuff we've heard every time.
And just for the purpose
It's
of the.
actually a very short list.
Yeah, just for
Mr.
the,
Finnegan.
just for the
Just all
purpose.
those things.
Okay.
For the purpose of the record, it's a June 30th email from Mr. Neil Finnegan, which is part of the record, but just so we're all clear.
And we'll reference it again, but it's all the things we've talked about in the past. But just take a look at it, make sure there's nothing that strikes you.
Okay.
Give them a chance now.
Any other comments? Anybody else?
Public?
You okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to respond to the drop-off, because that's an issue with Porsche.
Go ahead.
That really applies to the other building,
Okay.
because there is no drop-off here.
So
So
we'll-
I'll address it.
Okay.
Well, a lot
when
of
we
those
go on to-
comments are specific to Edgewood.
Yeah, that's really more Edgewood, which is where Mr.
Yeah, but it
Finnegan
says
lives.
the heading is Porsche and Audi, so we're kind of obliged to
Just
say
doesn't
it
apply
twice.
to this one. Okay.
Yeah, but this is the
It does.
Porsche, this is Porsche, Audi's gone.
No, it says Porsche
Correct.
and Audi in the email.
Well,
So,
Yes, I understand that, but the email is irrelevant in saying anything about Audi. That's been reviewed by the commission, it's been acted on with conditions and so forth,
It's
so
done.
it's done.
But-
We're dealing with
Okay.
Porsche.
Well, let's not,
want to make
okay.
sure that,
Okay,
Chairman.
guys, what do you want to do on this?
Let's leave it open, right?
Are we ready on this one?
No?
I thought we would close it, subject to going back to ARC.
Are we ready to close? That was my question.
Just bear with me a minute.
Well, I don't have objection to that.
One second.
all right.
You have anything, Richard?
Well, no, I think he's going to correct the lighting, the planting, and so we talked about the parking. We'll put the whereas on that. I think the only thing that might be left is if there's anything, and I can't spot it right now, but the one thing on the beta thing is that, can we handle that with a condition? Is staff comfortable with that?
Well, actually, the point you raised about the stop sign that doesn't let them turn left when that's where they would bring the cars back.
He already answered that. They're going to use the bridge. and
We'll
go
use the
through
bridge,
Audi.
because we're going
You'll
to,
use the bridge.
yes,
Okay.
because we're going to be washing the
Does
cars.
staff have any
200.
comment about the letter? That's the question.
No, not about the letter, about beta.
About Beta.
Yeah, because all he wants to do is get a truck in there to show turning radiuses.
The radii, right.
And the other thing that he wanted to do is just have a
Second
demonstration
sequence,
that the cars can move around and that,
But we could-
we're parking them for
We
the
could pick that
tandem.
up when we
Well,
review it.
while it's still open, there is a bit of confusion on that, because you had represented that there won't really be any trucks on this site.
Well,
There'll
have to
be,
bring
there'll
parts.
be parts deliveries,
But those are
which
small- those are
would
very
be the
small.
He said
SU-30
30s,
trucks.
yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Right.
That's what we would do for delivery.
Okay, guys, we'll close. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Let's go to 241.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman. This is the Audi sales and, Porsche sales and service building at 241 West Putnam. You saw this a couple of years ago when we enlarged the canopy for the drop-off area, which is on the west side of the building. And just to show you that is on the west side. And that is the the black trapezium material that is there now. We would be including some on toward the Edgewood side, but primarily it's the silver band that you would see from the post road. This building, we're really not doing an awful lot. We are changing the skin of the building. We're taking the inside and creating more sales and office space so that I can get to that. Currently, the service bays end here, and so there'll be additional space for sales, offices, and display of vehicles. There'll be 5 service bays in the back. There's currently 1 garage door. We'll be adding 3 garage doors, and that's basically what's going on with this building.
I think in this one particularly, there are much more, more questions for me anyway on this one than on 180. It has to do, because right now, the plans, in other words, SE Minor has submitted some plans for the parking along Edgewood, which don't agree with the parking plan that you've submitted and the landscaping plan. So which one is this the one we're going with?
It's the landscape plan that we'll
Okay.
be going with. Currently, as you know from the SE Minor plan,
Yes,
there is an encroachment of the parking spaces on Edgewood,
that's what I'm going at.
which
That's what I'm going
would
at.
be eliminated.
Okay.
So these spaces, which look like they're regular parking spaces, but actually are over into
know
the
that.
town right of way.
We're going to talk about that. The question then remains, right now, of course, that there's no curb in that area. So how much curb is being added in? Are you going to still maintain the 2 driveways on Edgewood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we would maintain this driveway here on the north and this driveway here on the south.
Now, some of the drawings, describe and talk about having a one-way circulation pattern on this site. Okay, can you tell me, first of all, why are the others, those surface lots opposite the stackable going in the wrong direction for one-way circulation?
They bring them out here when people are picking up their cars.
So they're going to be
Keep
back
them
into
here and then deliver them
No, but how can you
here.
do that? You can't have two-way traffic in there.
Well, they're going to pull in here, they're going to
Why-
then back this way and leave the car there.
I don't think it works. Because somehow you're getting two-way
You want
traffic
them
in
to
there.
come out and just go like that.
Not
Oh,
if the
no.
car is in
I
reverse.
think- I think that this needs to be looked at, because I think that that's one of the concerns on Edgewood that I think we need to address. And starting with the revision to the parking where you're out on Edgewood now, it's good that you say that you're pulling it back. So it would now be necessary to establish a curb out there, and then between the curb and your property line is going to be landscaped, is going to be what?
No, it would be as it is now, it's asphalt.
Why?
Uh,
That encourages people to park there.
Well, because there really isn't an awful lot of back-out space for the spaces that
Well,
go
that's
against the
defined on your
building.
parking plan, though, as a place for used cars, pre-owned cars. excuse me.
Currently, the curb is right here. And that's why the cars are parked over the property line in this area, because this is the curb.
Well,
So
okay,
someone would
you know
come
what
in
it is?
here, and it would provide enough back-out area.
This is another one of the
leave.
problems between the SE minor drawing, where I would have expected to find that kind of information in this one. So the coordination between those drawings, I think, needs to be reviewed and done up. The point is, where you say there is asphalt on the other side of that curb, I don't know if we've gotten any comments from DPW about that or not, Katie, but it would seem to me that having that asphalt there is, why wouldn't that be put into green and some planting?
This is Dan Tompkins, our landscape architect.
Hi, Dan.
What is your business?
I'm a landscape architect. I'm the
you
land
landscape-
planner
Hold the mic
for
closer, please.
New Country. I just want to point out that there is a strip of grass here, and there is curb there. It's poorly defined because it's not a full 6-inch reveal,
So can we
but
get
there
a
is
decent-
curb there.
Okay, let's start with getting a decent curb there so people are not encouraged to drive over it.
And as far as the diagonal is concerned, it was anticipated that, first of all, it would be just employees of New Country would be operating in this zone here.
Right.
The cars are dropped off. They're handed off to the employees. So
But that's not possible. If you've got customer parking there, the customers, when they pick up their car, how are they coming off the site?
well, they could, for example,
The customers are going to be back there. If your customer's
but
going
the
to...
car is faced out towards the aisle. It would actually be easier for them. It would be faced out towards the aisle.
Okay,
It
so
wouldn't
they-
be faced this way.
So when the car's finished. Is your mic on? Yeah, okay, so take us through the process slowly.
Sure.
Comes to get their car.
When someone comes to get their car, these cars that are not already delivered to their homes could be waiting here, but they're faced towards the aisle. They're not faced in.
All right,
So
now,
someone gets in the car and they just go out, and they go out to Edgewood.
The problem
Simple
is,
as that.
on your parking plan, you've defined that as new vehicle parking, display, and inventory storage. You've not defined it as customer parking.
That's true, but there can be overlap to that. The fact is, the need is gonna define that.
So how is that car, when it's been serviced, and it comes in and it's driven there, and it's driven up and then backed into the space?
Mhm.
Then the customer comes and picks it up and then drives out?
Mhm.
And the cars that are repaired here will then what, just back around the corner and back into those spaces?
The kind of activity here for service is going to be like what they call prep and detail. It's not going to be someone handing the car off to, for example, get an oil change. All that kind of work is going to be over at 180.
but the customer's going to come
The
here.
customer still comes here to drop his car off.
Right, but you asked about,
Right.
Comes to pick it up.
So you did an oil change, what do you do with it? How do you get it back into the parking?
well, right through and back in and waiting.
So where the customer,
You've got one-way loop behind the building also. How does I mean, I know if the car backs out of the driveway, the service door, which is closest to Edgewood, he then has to back across that and goes around the corner and backs into traffic, which is going the other way. It just does not.
Well, you're
Especially
talking
if you were
about,
told me
you're
you only-
talking about primarily.
If you're talking about the employees only in there, I'd say fine, that you
Okay.
guys can figure it out. But you've got customers going through there, and they're unpredictable. And I'm just not sure that system works, and there's no way for you to loop that on your site. So it seems like you got to, I don't know, it doesn't seem to work to me.
See, this is what we
And,
want
where, maybe if you describe the customer circulation, what happens from the customer's standpoint?
Yeah.
How do
Well,
they get
we're
dropped?
talking-
You would,
drop off
But you've got
first.
two customers there. You've got people coming in for service. Now, I want to go buy a car. Where do I park?
The customer parking is out
Oh,
front.
no, that's new car storage. I mean, that's what your plan shows, because I was looking for where would I park. You got two parallel spots out there. I just don't think this,
It sounds like that needs
this doesn't work, in my opinion, and I really think it needs to be evaluated, because,
Where,
and I think someone else on here is going to mention the idea of getting either some further landscaping and so forth across the front, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm more concerned about the use of, I'm back on Edgewood now.
and do the drop-off part, circulate the drop-off part?
The drop-off is just here.
So you leave your car and you go inside, the service manager is there in this building?
Correct.
And then what happens? Do you give him a loaner, or what happens when you drop your car off here?
New Country has a van.
So it'll take you somewhere in Greenwich, but
and-
but you don't give out loaners?
Don't give out loaners?
They give out
Yeah,
loaners.
yeah, they do.
I was gonna say.
Where do you get the loaner physically?
That would be given to you at 241, at the
Right there.
service
So-
drop-off area.
So now you get the loaner and you find it in the front.
No, the
So-
loaner's probably going to be parked in those diagonal spaces. That's where they're
Okay.
And they'll have to go around the building.
not color-coded properly.
It will
It's
come out
difficult.
this way.
Okay.
Right. And that
Onto
green
Edgewood.
strip that's on Edgewood, the existing one, you had said that that's going to remain?
Yes, we would have that remain.
Well, I think it should remain from the property line out to the curb, and I think that curb should be replaced so it's because it's, and now let me, you've got the handicap spot
Andy, which one is the sidewalk?
at the driveway closest to West Putt on Edgewood,
'Cause you like watching
on Edgewood.
Well, we have one here and one over here.
I'm sorry, the only handicap spot I see,
There's one off of Edgewood and then one off of West Putnam.
okay, well, the one in front of the building, it was unclear. I saw the one off of Edgewood, but I didn't see the one in front. I didn't realize we had two handicap spots. Is there a reason for that?
But those are diagonal right now, right, Bob?
Because of the number of parking
Yeah, they are.
spaces, we're
And they're
required to
going
have more
to
than
parallel.
one.
Okay, the diagonal spots that are there coming off of Edgewood, so you've got the one handicapped and two other spots there.
Correct.
So you pull in off of Edgewood, and you pull into those spots, and then you back out. It's really, well, no, not. Are you sure that's one-way traffic that way? I mean, I'm asking a question because there are no arrows on the plan. So it's a question of, is that behind those pre-owned cars, is that two-way or one-way traffic?
I think it has functioned in the past as two-way.
This, again, a lot of these things are missing from the drawing, very difficult to read it, and I think even if you go through the comments that we got from Beta, they had a lot of problems with some of these movements too. So I think that needs to be looked
You need
at.
an overall circulation plan and how that works with the coordinated drawing between landscape architect's plan and SE minors.
Because there's not a lot of room between the stacking cars that you're going to be putting in there and the parked cars. So customers, I mean, again, if that was all employees back there, that's one thing, but customers are not accustomed necessarily to driving through very narrow spots. And I'm not sure that from the back of the stacking ones to the back of the ones parked on the surface, you have an adequate one-way aisle.
What we'll do is we'll have that dimensioned, we'll have an overall parking plan that really reflects the change of this building to being primarily sales with really just the detailing and the prepping for renew car delivery.
I'm not sure you have enough room there also if you have two or three people coming in within a few minutes of one another. What do they do then?
I think in addition to the circulation, we'll have to provide you with a parking and a circulation management plan.
Why don't we do this? I think it's clear that we need clarification,
Yes.
okay? And is there anybody in the public that has anything to say?
Oh, I'm not sure I'm finished yet.
Yeah, there's,
I was hoping to
More
go over the
issues.
other issues that
You
have
want to
come
go
up.
over some
Few
more?
more.
Go over some more. Go ahead.
Andy, why don't you had some comments, I will echo what you're going to say, I think, but the comments about this, the
One
front of the
thing, I
building.
think we need to continue the sidewalk that from the west down to the corner via, make it concrete, so it's a clear definition of a sidewalk. I've driven by there now almost every day getting my coffee. And this is the last dealership that there's no delineation of the sidewalk in front of it. And I think at a minimum, we have to do it at this site plan.
If you put up the first rendering you did, you have the sidewalk
It dies. It stops at the corner.
No, well, the
See
first
it?
rendering, go to the rendering.
Now,
from the
that,
west.
that
one's
sidewalk
I know, but go to the
is
rendering.
there and no farther. The next one, I think, shows the,
It shows a sidewalk going across your property that's not there. There you go.
Well,
But that's.
No, that's
see,
what it does.
again, it just ends there. We do have this landscape
Yes.
area and the two
but
trees.
I think
uh,
that for the
that-
public safety, the sidewalk should continue to the crosswalk. Match what Mercedes has done where the entries are concrete and it then makes the parking asphalt and it's clearly delineated. The other question, you have all this stackable parking against this building. I would rather see it at the other site, because it's hidden against a wall. If you ever want to use, pull up the site plan again, please. And if you ever wanted that, as you started talking about that diagonal parking to be for customers to pick up cars, having the mechanized storage there, I think, is in conflict. So I think if you move it to 180,
Yeah, I don't think that site works nearly as well for the stackable units as this does, because what you have with this canopy and the building itself, these are all hidden. You just don't see them there at all, except if you're picking your car up for service at Mercedes.
Can you elaborate why, because we gave you approval for them
Well, through stipulation.
in the,
I wanted to respond to that because there
why
was some
haven't
real
they been
confusion.
installed?
It hasn't been something that was needed as part of the operation of the dealership. But there was a question as to how many. And what we got approved were 15 units that are 3 each. But the first level is the grade, is ground. So there were actually 30 on the second and third level. And
So why does it say 39?
because we took 2 of those units away when we expanded the canopy, and when I submitted it this time, I counted the grade level rather than just the 2 that are in the air.
So are you okay with going to 30? With saying it's 30 again?
No, it's
but he's- what
actually,
he's saying is
it's
that-
actually 26
26,
rather than 30.
Rather than 30?
Right,
So
it's
as long-
less.
Okay. Let me say this again.
I was describing it differently this time than it
Are
had
you
been last
okay
time.
with saying something like not more than 30? And putting that number back in there, and the reason, I'm asking.
why say 30 if he's going to do?
No,
what's
no, I'll
in-
say 26.
That's what's in the stipulation, and the stipulation says that it cannot be changed by either you or us.
It will be less than 30.
But the stipulation says 30, and it cannot be changed. The number can't be changed to 26 either, unless you go back to the judge, and I'm sure you guys don't want to do that.
I don't think the judge would want us
It's
to
already
do
been
that.
changed because the 2012 approval
That was a-
removed 2 of the 15 to make it 13 times 3.
Okay, but the
And the
fact
first
that-
level is not being counted, so 13 times 2.
That was done as part of the last site
That's
plan.
already
Fine.
been done.
The fact that we've made the mistake once doesn't mean we got to make the mistake again. I'd like to set it straight, because I don't think we were aware of what it said in the stip the last time.
Was it a
we did
mistake?
I don't know. We haven't been, I asked yesterday and I didn't get an answer, and I'm just a little concerned that the stipulation says that it can't, nothing can be changed without going back to the court. And I'd like to leave it clean for both sides, for both of us, just to not have any problems.
Well, I don't want to advise you
whatever
on
you-
how
yeah.
you deal with the stip. You have counsel to do that.
And you do as well, so just.
But I can tell you that when we came in to do this canopy in 2012,
I was
we
here.
reduced the number of
Never did
lifts
step.
to 13 rather than 15.
I
And that's
remember.
why there are a total of 39 rather than a total of 45.
What
So
else
we don't lose the spaces on the ground one way or the other.
Right,
else do
so I
we
mean,
have?
it's being left open, so I think that's an issue that needs to be resolved still.
You can certainly.
One of the other questions is you're adding the 2 doors in the back, the service, to the service bays now. You can leave that, that's plan up if you want. But you're reducing the number of service bays overall and also changing their function to what I call new car prep or whatever you want to call it, as opposed to oil changes and whatnot.
Well, we do have an alignment bay as part of this, and we do have lifts besides just the
Why do you need more
detailing.
doors if the number of bays are being decreased? And I asked only because it's the resident, I mean, I know it's the pond and whatever behind you, but then there's residences behind that.
I'm just turning
So
to the north elevation.
Wondering impact-wise on those residences.
Currently,
Why
we
is
have the
that?
one center door, and the service bays are off to either side of the building.
Right.
Now, we're going to have each of the bays directly behind the doors, so you just drive directly in rather than driving in and then turning to one of the service bays.
And will those be open all day long while the cars are being serviced, or do they open and close all day long?
They will be open and closed. They will not be left open.
Okay, what else do we have? Do we have anything else?
Yes, Mr. Hegney. Has ARC looked at this yet?
Yes.
What did they say about the increase of the facade?
We spent a good deal of time talking about that. And we have also talked to, very recently, people from Porsche North America about the overall height. And one of the things that ARC asked us to do was to eliminate one of these bands. And we believe that, based on our recent discussions, we will be able to do that.
Just one band?
4 feet.
Right.
You don't mean do you mean the band, you mean the band or the height?
Height
Both.
of one band.
Both. So one band, which is 4 feet, it'll be reduced to this level,
Right.
which will make it just a couple of feet higher than it is now.
The increase in the facade is just a branding issue? That's what it looks like in the rest of the world?
Correct. If you saw some of the photographs, you saw what
I did.
what the
Yeah, this is it.
concept is.
My concern on this particular intersection is that we keep encroaching to the street with these large masses of buildings. I think actually a good example is the Mercedes next door. It doubled in height and seemed to sit right on the street. If there's any way to see through to maybe one more band and bring it back down again, that would be great.
Well, Nick, I have to say that we're reducing how close it is to the corner here. It comes no closer at West Putnam, and this portion actually is brought farther back. So it is being pulled back.
Pulled back in and
As
increased
part
in
of
height.
that.
And I think that's the issue that I have, is that even though you're pulling it back, you're increasing it in height.
Right. That came clear from the ARC members, and their question was, well, can you remove one of the bands? And it's just been recently that we've gotten word back from Porsche that that would be acceptable for them.
But it's only 4 feet.
Well, yes, but when you have 5, it's a 20% reduction
Well,
of the height.
Are you going to
Exactly,
be
'cause you
revising
always
the drawings you're submitting to us to
Yes.
show this height change?
Yes, we'll revise that as well.
Okay.
What else do we have?
I would add
Couple
that there's no change in the height of the roof on this at all.
On the two curb cuts out to West Putnam Avenue, are both of those required, number one? And number two, do they have to be the dimension that they are? Because they seem to be quite wide. And is there any way that those can be reduced?
Well, currently you have cars, spaces that face east and west, and then also north. So in order to access those, we do need a wider curb cut. What we can do is, as part of looking at installing the sidewalk, we'll look
Okay.
at the width of the curb cut itself.
Okay. I would like to, since it was brought up in the other one, I would like to just put into the record the
letter from Finnegan.
Right. The number of items, and just hear if you've got any comments. Number one is ensure the adequacy of customer parking for sales, service, and prohibit any on-street parking by customers. I think that's.
And we can certainly provide more than the parking that's required on site.
You'll do that, and
Yes.
show us. So, the next one is an interesting one. No loading and unloading of cars on Elmwood Drive
Edgewood.
residential zone. That is my understanding. There used to be a certain section of Edgewood Drive that is signed for drop-off,
Actually, it still is.
and it still is.
And that
Okay.
is right in front of the dealership. It's right here, and it is signed, and it's something that the police department looked at and
No, I know,
wanted
but
to
it-
have there.
But parking and so forth is not really our purview, but I just want to make, it should be gotten into the record that maybe one of your drawings could show that area that's signed for that
Certainly,
purpose.
yes.
Because that's, I know there was.
And
a
that
big-
is in the commercial portion of Edgewater, not the residential.
No, I do understand that.
Edgewood, rather, excuse me.
Okay. ARC approved lighting plan, okay.
We
Well, I
did
think he
have a
needs an
fair
ARC.
amount of discussion with ARC about that, and they were looking for us to provide a recessed light on the fixture. We have a revised fixture to bring to them,
Okay,
the actual fixture itself, so they can see how it functions.
okay.
So we are addressing that.
All right. Well, I don't know, require fully compliant soundproofing and rooftop screening of all exterior mechanicals and rooftop exhaust fans. I know they're screened, and they,
Well, I want to,
As
there was a comment brought up in the staff report, and we didn't touch on it on 180, but with 180, because we're taking that roof off and
Right.
putting it back on, we can put all of the
You
air
can
conditioning
move it
units or air handling units in the center and meet that 25%. On this roof, we're keeping the existing units. What we would like to be able to do is properly screen them, but given how large the roof area is and where they're located for certain purposes,
I think the only two that would have any impact on any neighbors would be those two, with that one and that one. The others are going to be in the front where it's so hidden by the new panel
the
wall.
facade.
Yeah, so I don't think that's really an issue. But the question is, and he says for soundproofing and stuff, I assume they'll just all meet town standards for
Yes.
noise? Okay, so that's all. The landscape plan being approved by ARC. Now, on this one, on one of your drawings you submitted to us, if you can go back to the site plan for a minute. It wasn't this one, but I think it was a parking, I can find it in a minute, but anyway, it showed parking along your north property, planting along your north property line. It showed a band of planting along there. and
This
I-
says existing tall hedgerow
Okay.
right along here.
So, could you just, when you come in next time, could you just bring some photographs of that? Because I think that does then provide the screening to the neighbors.
Of course. One of the other things we were thinking about, there's a walkway 4 feet wide that goes around the showroom here.
Yes.
And it really doesn't serve any purpose. We would prefer that people walk through the showroom rather than around it.
Of
course.
And that would be another
Fools otherwise.
100 square feet. So we could remove that and make that
Give this-
green.
It would free up some space there in the parking. So,
Yes.
He says prohibit any exterior intercom system. I don't.
That's
know.
fine.
That's-
We don't
okay.
have an exterior intercom system.
He also asks that the new country name somebody on file with P&Z for after-hours car alarm activation situations. I don't know what the file is going to do with PZC after hours, because there's nobody here, so I don't know what.
What
How
we
was that
did,
handled? There was
what we
something
did
you
as
did
part
at
of
Audi.
Audi
Yeah.
is we provided the names
Of
of the
somebody in
general
your-
manager
Okay.
and the head of facilities for New Country's numbers, so that, and cell phone numbers, so that if they needed to reach them for some reason.
Dick, could we give
they
them your
would be
home
able
phone
to.
number as well?
Because he can't turn off the
No,
alarms.
no, and I don't even live in this town, so you can't find my house either. last part's not true.
Yeah, I would hope
I just
not,
want you
since you're a
looking
member of the Planning and Zoning
Somewhere
Commission.
else for me.
Do they have a copy of this note, Dick?
I think they do. We just gave it to them tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's no
we
trash
just
pickup,
received.
just the controlling of the trash pickup and before 7 and 8 a.m.
We'll see what we can do with our trash hauler
Okay.
in terms of that.
Other than that, and with the last comments from just going over the beta thing again, I'm not going to repeat it into the record, but that, I'm done.
I think the real issue that we need to bring back to you, other than the screening and the facade change, is site circulation and how the spaces are going to be used and whether customers are going to be able to safely enter and exit the site.
And also with that, number of employees, how many customers, so. Analyze.
That came up as part of the staff comments. I do have that information, and I will add that to what we submit
Okay.
to you.
Can you go back to the facade again, just for a second, before we leave you?
I'm happy to.
Thank you. Can I look at it
Oh.
again? Sorry. So, okay. So the other site, and I know I'm mixing the applications, just doesn't, this is the look that they're doing.
Because it is primarily
the
a
Berlin.
sales building.
Yeah, and the Berlin one has like a wider glass in the front. That's a bigger opening of glass in the front. Looks a little, I like it better. I think it's just a better, but again, it comes back to the comments on the other application. I just,
This could be perspective too.
And you said that the other facades are black on this one? Because the existing, they're gray or silver.
sorry, that's.
Well, what you see now there is what you'll see as the.
Which is silver,
Silver,
basically.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
We've been saying gray, but
silver.
it's.
silver.
No, in the beginning, I thought you had said that a portion of this was the, whatever. it's called.
Black?
Black.
Well, it is, portion back here,
I know, I believe I
Is-
talked about the facade.
I think it's,
but it's not, it's,
oh, in 2012 it was, okay. So right now, it is that black?
so, currently, this is all service area, so there are no windows here. So we're putting in these two windows, we're bringing this farther back, and then this will be the black material here.
Right, so that is going to become black in the
Yes.
back there, right,
And
okay.
then with,
And currently, this is. So that won't change, that's the material that you see right now.
and then how would you screen those HVAC units, which would be on the right corner?
They have screening panels
This
around.
is the roof level here, so if we remove this,
The service bay, right?
If you go back to the roof plan, but he's got a system of screens around it, the screening for the units.
There's a system called Advisor that actually sits on top of the rooftop unit, which fully screens it on four sides.
And it's going to be the black color?
It'll match the black trapezium, yes.
If you look upper right-hand corner, there's a diagram on it. It's hidden, there you go.
Yeah.
So they're all screened with that.
I think you guys, if anything, you've gotten direction, right?
I have one last thing.
Go ahead.
I misspoke earlier. When you go back to ARC, could you show that car stacking system against the building?
sure.
Because it's not on the elevations now, and if that's a part of this application, I think it would be good to see that.
Certainly.
Yeah, and showed it in the longitudinal section of the building, so we can get a sense of the rack against the building.
We'll provide a cut sheet.
That's fine.
Mr. Hegney, do you think that the stipulation is still in play with this proposal?
Well, as far as the stackable units go, yeah,
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
because
So-
we've continued that.
They haven't done it.
And
Okay,
it should just be noted for the record that there is no CO, so to speak, on the canopy, so that goes with your argument that
Yeah,
it's
it's still open.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hagney, before you sit down, I'd just like to, on behalf of this group, congratulate the library in its latest acquisition of you as a trustee.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
So-
It's a pleasure serving on that board.
Continue your good work.
It's not nearly as arduous as what you do these
not.
Tuesday evenings.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Why don't we take a 5-minute break before?
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Did you say we were leaving this open, or what? Did you say we're leaving this open?
Yes, I
I
did.
wrote it down anyway.
No, it's next.
Oh, Richard, you know what I'm going to tell you? That one of the reviews I read on the can?
Oh, yeah?
On the can, one of the things I read about it?
I kind of dismissed it anyway.
I know, but because
Where's the
for
candy?
me to
That's
get
important.
The what?
I have to get Subaru to make my next
Can you grab the candy
Okay.
and bring it in this way?
car.
Thank you.
So, if you look at, he's not having any of this, but if you look at Berlin, Frankfurt, LA, Beverly Hill, Palm Beach, the black is not happening. So why do we have to have the black?
Maybe Porsche USA has different
Well,
color schemes.
you know,
From experience.
But
What-
Branding comes in from corporate, and corporate says you have to do this.
I know,
and
but
they do their business.
Palm Beach and Beverly Hills have all silver. And I think that works better with what Miller has done and with what Benz has done, and I think it gives us more continuity. And what I want ARC to look at is that entry into Greenwich feel high-endy and nice.
I'd rather have that building just go away so nobody
Well,
goes
no
in there.
kidding. No kidding,
Hey,
but
listen,
making it black makes it a
People
nice.
gotta have a place to service their cars.
Well,
Yeah, they
I
do.
completely agree.
I completely agree,
actually-
and plus,
I'll
it's
deference-
kinda
I'll
nice
deference
having a
to the
big
black.
Porsche dealership.
If they build the 6 feet on top, and they cover, just paint the whole thing black, that's fine. It's a service building. It's not-
But it'll be a visual, think about what Citarella looks like.
Hey, guys,
Everything is light colors
think what it
right
looks
now.
like now.
Yeah, but everything is light.
Anything is gonna be an improvement,
Right.
that's true.
The,
I want to
information
file a
I gave you,
protest. Nobody from
one
down here
side
brought in
has-
any lemons or nuts.
One side is the inspection flow chart.
Yeah.
The other side is actually the permitting flow chart. Kind of a double whammy, but it's actually very interesting to see in terms of,
That, the flow of parking stinks.
That's tomorrow's reading.
so this is the inspection once the permit's issued, but on the back, which is actually a good read.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, you know what? That wasn't in your email.
Okay.
You know that? Because
This
I saw this and this.
What are you
This is
looking
the
at?
permitting process. So
Okay.
this is actually a good read because you can't, to get through all of this to get here. So
Okay.
What's this one?
This is the inspection process in the town of Greenwich.
Which is nothing.
Well, it has.
Unless you have a problem.
Who has a problem?
It just has to do when they, because it's, trying to help my granddaughter with something, and so I don't normally get, so I just need it.
Okay, final site plan and special permit, 52 Brookside Drive.
Yes.
For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. This is 52 Brookside Drive. It is very close to the first application that I presented to you this evening, which is immediately to the west, is the New Country Service Building. To the north, we have an office building and then the lighting store with its other activities going on in the yard. To the south, we have the Pathways facility and group home. And across the street, we have the backside of the AMP and its loading dock and generator.
To the west of this site is the Porsche, isn't it?
Yes.
Immediately to the west is
You're
the...
pointing to
oh,
the
did I-
north, and you got me all
No, no,
confused.
this, the top of the page is west.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
the Porsche service building
Okay.
at 180.
Corner in the market.
I haven't gone too far in any direction this evening. Hopefully, I'm making a little bit more progress with you. The building that's there currently is non-conforming 3.5 stories and has 3 units. When we first started looking at this, this is a 15,000 square foot site, and based on the regulations in 6-10, we would be able to locate and construct 6 two-bedroom units on it. We didn't even try 6 bedrooms. We started with 5 units, 2 bedrooms each. We discovered after spending a month or two on that was just not going to work. The grading is such that you're dropping 30 feet in elevation from the front to the rear. And that really precludes the ability to actually provide adequate retaining walls and provide the parking, because the site does drop off so much. We're in the CGB zone, so we have 30 feet of side yard on either side, which we do meet as part of this plan.
I'm sorry, the CGB or the GB?
CGB.
CGB, okay.
I'm sorry, no, GB,
GB,
excuse
okay.
me, GB. It's 30 feet on either side. So what we have developed and are presenting to you is a 4-unit building, 2 bedrooms each, with garage units and then carports. I've been having a discussion with the zoning enforcement officer as to how we meet the requirements of the carports, and what he advised is we have to allow for, and I have a elevation to show you. Is openings so that it's clear that it's not just where you drive the car in as a carport, but the sides are open on the east and west side, and that it's also open carports on the south side of the building. And he said that that was acceptable.
How does that work on the 2 center ones? How does that work with the 2 center ones not having?
We have the front and rear open, because obviously
Right.
it's open on one side where you drive in, and then we have lattice here on the south side. On the end units, it's actually 3 sides that are open.
See, the
rather than
problem
just
with
2.
that is, if you look at your site, if you look at your foundation plan, because that's, right now, that's a bunch of crawl spaces, and could you put up your foundation plan? Okay, so you've changed you've changed.
Yes, we had to change all of those plans based on zoning enforcement and staff comments. The other issue that was raised was the height, and we thought that we could have trusses in the above the third floor, and we were told, no, you have to have either a flat roof, or it's going to be called a half-story, and the zone permits only 3 stories. Of course, our first story is our garages, and then we have 2 floors of living space. So we have revised the architectural plans to provide for a flat roof. The facade itself will not change. The roof style will remain the same as a parapet.
Well, obviously, that has been developed a lot since we got our drawings, because I know mine don't look anything like that, but that's.
There are a couple of things that came up with ARC when they said come back with the construction documents. We did get ARC approval on this.
Are you going to put the outside AC units in that depression on the roof so they're not on the site?
Yes, that's what this section shows. They're all right in the center. And they would all be screened because our parapet will come up this high.
Can you go back
Do you
to-
still meet one last, where are you on the height? Still within the 40?
When we had this is our height, or this, we were within the 40-foot height. But now, actually, our roof height will be here.
The rest is.
So will be less than what we originally
Well, no, the
proposed.
parapet does that parapet exceed 4 feet in height above the roof? If it does, then it's got to be measured to that.
The commission can, under that section of the regulations, allow for a higher parapet to screen mechanical units. But either way.
Can you tell us how, yeah.
Whether we're doing it as a parapet and permitted, or whether we're measuring from average grade to the peak, we meet the 40 feet.
To the highest peak?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Can you come back to the carport for a second? I missed how come the carport was okay?
Because any area that is above grade now has a grate on both the south side and then also on the east and west sides.
Okay,
Can you show us
I
on
got
the
it. So-
floor plan
with a minimum 50%
of
of
the
its
2
surface
centers, how,
open. Okay.
where the carport is and what's open on those 2 center bays?
The center bays are going to be below grade. Is that what you're doing?
There's a slight window well.
This is Rex Gedney, our architect.
Good evening.
Did you get the name, ma'am?
I need a spelling of the last name.
Gedney.
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 Go away, Hagney.
There are 2 window wells that extend out approximately about a foot, but it's enough. Zoning enforcement officer felt that was clear enough so that these will be all open. It'll be screened, but it will be,
So the lattice work will go down to the floor of the carport? Is that what you're saying?
not to the floor, but probably to a sill height about 36 inches.
Would you just
Can't be more than 18.
outline where the carport is?
Okay. Carport,
More than 18.
the carport is this area right here. It's rather deep. I mean, you actually could park 2 cars in tandem there, but it's only considered just a 1-car parking space. But it's the full depth of the unit above, and it's open here and here. And this is a garage, and then this is the carport for this unit.
So the ZEO, I mean, that's less than 50% open, and he opined on that was, I can understand on the
Well, it's
end
the
units.
lattice that has to be 50% open.
I don't believe we've received anything in writing from Mr.
No, we haven't.
No, we didn't get these plans to him until later today, but I did have a conversation with him this morning about what would be acceptable.
But he hasn't seen these plans specifically.
No, but I did show him the plans did show him this plan, because I did have that this morning, and he said on the east and west sides, if you open those up, I'll find that acceptable, so long as your anything above grade is left open.
No, but you said, just stop for a second. Your architect said that you're putting in a window well, so.
We're actually lowering it more than what I explained to him this morning. That's true. Because I had just said, this is grade, and we would have that with lattice.
That needs to be, obviously, that should have been shown on your
That will be shown
drawings.
on, yes, we'll show that.
Are you going to do that just on the interior 2 bays, or are you going to do it throughout?
It's done throughout.
Well, I can see that it's done throughout, but I mean, because you've got the, you got the end walls that you're going to be putting the openings in, so that's, would seem to eliminate that wall, so you're still permitted 2 walls in a.
And I do stand corrected. My associate said that these do go down to the floor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. All right, now, did you ask him about the sitting room?
2 walls.
Did you get to that?
We hadn't gotten that far, but I do want to have that discussion.
Center carports still have 3 walls in
No,
common.
they don't, they've got 1.
No, in common with the main structure.
No, they only have 2.
The back wall and the 2 side walls in the center carports are in common with this main structure of the building.
The plan has changed, that's what, when he put his foundation,
Okay, we'll just let it go and forget it. We'll let the ZEO look at it. The guys are right. Don't say that often.
There was a question in the staff report as to whether these were 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
the purposes of parking.
Yes. And what we've created here, we're calling a sitting room. We have an opening which is 5 feet 1.5 inches. And when I've gone through this before, as long as the opening was more than 5 feet, this was not labeled a bedroom. And the other thing I was thinking about, these 2 have no windows. They're completely interior space. I don't know how, in any way, they could be labeled as bedrooms.
That's a nice catch.
We did make these more than 5 feet so that it would meet what my experience had been.
Could you just run that one
as
by
not-
Jody too and see if that's,
I asked him about that, and he said he didn't think he needed to comment on it, but I will run it by
Okay.
him again.
I agree with the 2 center units where there are no windows, but the 2 end units do have a window.
Yeah, but. we
And
did
that's
Oak
why
Ridge.
we had made the
Oak
opening
Ridge with a
more than
5-foot
5 feet.
What's your point there?
I don't think that's the regulation.
Okay.
For a room to comply, it would have to meet, the window would have to meet a minimum size, 5.7 square feet for egress purposes.
Can you speak into the microphone, please?
Yes, so the windows would have to meet a certain square foot area in order to comply as egress, which is required out of a bedroom or habitable space. So we were going to keep the window below that standard so that it
it
wouldn't.
doesn't have to be made a bedroom. The zoning regs read that a den, a loft, there's 2 or 3 things that they don't require windows at all. So the fact that there are no windows doesn't take away from the count of
From our
whether
point of view.
that's counted as a bedroom for parking.
In other words, it's not the fear that it's going to be converted to a
Right,
bedroom,
it's
it's
just-
just the use of the area.
Well,
So I
and
think
that's
that does
why-
need to be clarified. and
That's why we had made the opening more than 5 feet, because the last time I came in with a similar kind of plan, that
It's
was
entirely, I'd
found
like,
to
at
be
this
the
stage of the game, I'd like to get
requirement.
that kind of maybe memorialized with something from the ZEO,
Yes.
which then we wanted to keep going over
Because
this.
Very
when
well.
we did the last one, we got that from the ZEO on the one we approved.
Yes, okay.
That was-
I did want to go over a landscape plan, and our landscape architect is here with us. There was some question in the conservation comments about adequacy of screening. We're showing 10 white pines, 8 to 10 feet here. along the retaining wall in the back. And we're showing evergreens along here on the top of the existing wall. And at this corner, this wall is already 9 feet high from the existing grade down to the property of the lighting store. It screens the tractor-trailer body that's there very well. We only see a little bit of the top of it from our property. And we're showing shade trees on the south side and extensive. It's a very extensive landscaping plan. I think we've really addressed the issue that was brought up by
I just have
conservation.
one question. I thought white pines were not considered a good tree to be planting.
Because because
Well, I remember it came up on the field club, when they were putting in those large trees
She
there,
didn't
and
want
we talked about going to white pines, and everybody said, you're crazy, you don't want to do that, because they let limbs break off, and so my question is, I was just going to ask, and I didn't get it in Denise's, or not Denise, but Alexandra's report. She didn't comment negatively on it. I was just
No.
throwing it out to see if there's any negative.
The thought was that they bush out well,
No, I
they
know.
grow fast, and
That's-
they provide great screening.
And all of the things about growing fast usually means they break apart fast, too, so. It's not much they're gonna hit down there, but I'm just saying, if they're okay, they're okay.
Ma'am, did you want to say something?
This is our landscape architect.
Tom's, Jane Dodona, for the record. I'm the landscape architect, and Tom's doing such a great job, I was going to sit down. Sure, Didona. Yeah, usually we would use a spruce if we were on grade, but this is quite a bit lower than the existing, and
Right.
this is far out in an area that there's free. Plus, by the time they get to be that level where they may start to break,
Right.
it's going to be many, many years from now. So
We're just-
the bottom branches do drop off. That's why we tend to not use them for screening if it's on a level.
Right.
But because this is so much lower, we're going to get the screening we need
Right.
because, no offense to, is it Porsche? We really don't want to look at their parking lot.
I can understand that.
Okay.
Is there any exterior lighting?
The only lighting will be for the doorways. There's no standing lights. They're just above the doors.
And nothing above the garages?
Just a recessed light above the garage.
Okay. What do we want to do on this one,
I
guys?
think we're leaving it open. They gotta-
Yep.
We'll bring these plans back to you so that you can
Okay, thank you.
review them again.
Okay, Richard.
Okay, last item,
Principal structure, it may have one or two walls in common.
151 Greenwich Avenue,
Have a wall on each side and one in the back. That's 3 walls.
Good evening,
final
Mr. Chairman.
site plan and special permit.
Jody is saying if you put the lattice.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Chip Haslam for the applicant. I learned this afternoon, I guess about the same time that Pat LaRoe did, that in addition to the commercial unit that I was seeking to get approval for, that there were 2 units already in place, not just one. This is when I was trying to identify who the tenants had been historically for you tonight.
Right.
And so I have explained to my client that until we get to the bottom of this and resolve that issue, that I thought that was insurmountable problem for you to consider the application tonight. And on that basis, I've gotten approval from him to withdraw the application and try to get to the bottom of it and attend to the issue. So apologize for any miscommunication.
Mr. Hazen, you said
Thank
that
you.
there was 2 instead of 1. Do you mean 3 instead of 2?
Well, in addition to my clients, the application I had in tonight, there were 2, so that'd be a total of 3, 2 existing and the third would be
Right,
hers.
okay.
Which the floor plan that was previously approved only showed 4 units, 2 residential, 2 commercial,
Got
and
it.
I've explained to them why that's important on the 3rd floor in this zone.
Okay,
And you're going to track down a new floor plan, right?
I
We'll
think
leave it
we're going to
open.
have to try to do that, correct?
We're leaving it open, is that it?
No, I'll withdraw it.
You're withdrawing it.
Yeah.
You wanna
I think we
Withdraw-
have,
Withdrawing
it's
it.
too big an issue just to continue to
okay.
your agenda.
withdrawn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't understand.
That's it, guys, thank you, ma'am.
Carports. What are we saying?
Okay, guys,
There's an extra unit that you didn't know about.
Let's go to John Street. Guys, John Street.
Oh, okay.
I would move the approval of the final site plan and special permit for this project, subject to staff and departmental comments.
Can you put your microphone on, please?
My microphone is on.
We've been having difficulty.
This is to actually the whole commission. We've been having difficulty on the tape when we try to listen to the decisions, making sure that we hear everybody. Sorry.
Take it up with the people in charge of the building.
Will do.
Okay. I move the approval of the final site plan special permit for this particular project, subject to the comments of staff and any other departments. And I think the one thing that was left open was the disposition of a previously identified kitchen on the plans, which has been clarified by the applicant to indicate that it is in fact not a kitchen, there's no cooking services in it, and therefore I say that I would move that we find that it is not a kitchen and approve the project subject to that.
And I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're on,
New
Porsche.
we're on
The first
Greenwich Country
portion
Day we
one.
left open.
Yeah.
We're on 180 West Putnam.
That was closed. Do we want to deal with that tonight, or is there any reason to not?
I don't know, that's a good question. How do you feel about that?
You know,
We can't. Go ahead.
it's an interesting thing. Maybe wait till the second part comes in,
Sure.
kind of, because even though we didn't talk about looking at them as one site, and we never really got to that issue of the common ownership, maybe we should just have both of them locked down before we, Fred's nodding, and Fred and I hardly ever agree, so.
We almost always agree when we talk about Donald and Sam. Poor
I think
chairman and all that.
there's no problem in leaving it open, because,
Well, it's closed, we just won't decide it
Close it,
tonight.
not
yeah,
decide.
not the size, excuse me, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that.
For this reason, there's no, their timetable, we're not
No.
restricting them because of timetable problems or anything like that.
Exactly.
So I
I
don't
think that
mind it
issue
all.
that binds them together, though, is the shuttling of cars, the back
Yeah.
and forth kind of thing. I think we may have resolved that in deference that actually they need to go out the back door kind of thing and go in the right direction. My biggest concern was, although Beta said there's not going to be a critical issue there, I think one thing that jumped off of that was that there was a lot of accidents at that particular intersection and that there's a potential for something to be increased. The fact that he said they can go out the back door is actually
I don't think
resolves
he did
that.
say that. I was going to in fact say that I think Beta needs to review this with that idea that they're going to use that bridge to
Yeah.
exit the site.
Right, I
Well,
don't
wait a
think
minute,
they-
is this application closed?
Yes.
It is, so we
Okay.
can't get anything from
No,
Beta.
no.
So we're not going to
Okay.
make any decision.
Right, and at this point,
Get
no
more.
additional information
That's
to be
fine, that's
provided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
We're
okay,
finished on
and we're
that.
fine.
Okay. What
The
else
other
now
thing-
we got?
That's it. What we forgot to raise on the second Porsche one, I think that was the one that had the question from Jody on the 6139 compliance on the flood.
That's it, guys, we're done.
No, that's this one.